Om Shri Sai Ram. Good evening and welcome to our penultimate day of the Atma Chalisa Parayanam revisited. So, yesterday we had concluded with the fact that happiness is our true nature, and that is the reason that all our lives we are constantly searching for this happiness. And the happiness that we are searching for is not the happiness that comes at certain points of time when certain events agreeable to us happen. But we are looking for a happiness that is beyond likes and dislikes, which is beyond ecstasy and sorrow. We are looking at that happiness, which is who we truly are. And that state of constancy, that state of being where we are in that state of joy, that state of happiness is what we are knowingly or unknowingly, yet constantly and relentlessly we are searching that. But we are trying to search for it in experiences. We are trying to search for it in terms of what we like to do and what we dislike to do. But the real happiness comes, the real happiness that we are looking for is a state that is not dependent upon what you do and what you don't do. And so therefore it is beyond likes and dislikes. It is beyond attachments and expectations. And it is a natural way of being that you are happy no matter what you're doing and what you are not doing. And it is not dependent upon external circumstances, external people, external situation. It is a state of being, and it is not an extreme state of either ecstasy or of sorrow. It is a state of being happy for the heck of it, being happy just like that, not being happy for a certain reason. Normally when we see somebody happy, we say, what has happened? Tell us, share us what has happened. And when we are sad, people are asking us what has happened. Which means that sorrow and happiness comes only when something happens. But how do we reach that happiness which has nothing to do with the happening of a certain thing? It is independent. It must be independent of things happening and not happening. And as long as we keep reacting, and as long as we keep operating about likes and dislikes, and as long as we keep, this cycle of action and reaction, we'll always be caught up, because we will always be running towards what we like to do, what our preferences are, what our choices are, and therefore we never become free, we never experience liberation, or we never experience enlightenment, because we are just stuck in our loop. And this is the job of the mind, and mind just has a vice-like grip on us. It does not allow us to step out of it. And no matter how many times we will hear discourses and talks and make recordings and notes, but if we do not practice it, it just won't come. And so today we start from, we move further from there and move on to the next topic, where we say, what is the action we must do in life? How must we act in this world at all times? It doesn't matter what it is. And that is, do your best and leave the rest. At all points of time, our effort in the biggest job we are doing or in the smallest thing we are doing, our effort should be to do the best. And not waiting, not doing it for the expectation of a certain result, or for having a particular result in mind, or doing it for a certain gain or a reward or an appreciation. We must do our best because this is who we truly are. Okay, I'll just give you an example. We just came back home, we were out, and the session had to start in about 12 minutes, and we had only 12 minutes to make a dinner and eat it. And with whatever was available in front of us, uh, we created a sandwich, a grilled sandwich. Okay, and though the pressure of time was there, the pressure to eat was there, so that we start our session on time. And we didn't have the luxury of cooking anything. We had to make do with whatever was available. I think what the sandwich came out exactly on good time, and we were able to finish it on time, turned out to be pretty decent. Yes? So, this is how it is. Because in your head, you are being guided, though there is a limitation of choice, there is a pressure of time, but yet the perfection does not cease. In fact, we even cleared up the space before eating. So that's how it gets ingrained in you, that it does not depend upon the perfect availability of resources and perfect availability of choices, of conditions. But if it is ingrained in you that whatever you do should satisfy your soul, should satisfy your standards of perfection, should satisfy your innate need of happiness from every action that you are doing. That is called dedicating your action to the higher self, or to God, or to consciousness, or to your guru. Whatever you believe in, when we do the action, every action, like that day Vijay Lakshmi said, that I wake up in the morning until night, all my actions, I do it to the Lord and I offer it to the Lord. And so therefore, such actions which are being offered to the higher consciousness become not work but worship. And when you are offering everything to the God, how can there be anger? How can there be any reaction which is negative in nature? And what comes out only is perfection. Because the ingredients, you see, whatever you will put into something, into an action, is what the result is going to be. If you put your heart into it, if you put enthusiasm and joy into it, then what will come out will be beautiful. But if we are doing work because we think we are stuck into it, we have to do it, we are being forced to do it, then what comes out of it is, always there is a reaction waiting around the corner, and in a minute we are set to explode. So we must do every action not for a result, not for pleasing anybody. When we learn by doing and doing again, by practicing and practicing again, only we will reach a point where only the perfect comes out of us. And we are not impacted by what we like to do and what we run away from. Because what we run away from, as I have said, always comes to haunt back. And we will continue to, as long as we escape something, that thing will never let us escape. It will, one day or the other, will catch up on us. But if we get into this attitude of bringing in that joy, and in bringing in this whole effort of pleasing the Lord, pleasing the Guru, offering it to the highest consciousness, to the highest good, to the highest self, then you see how your action will start becoming perfect. Because you are offering it to the perfect being. Because consciousness is perfect. And so, without expectation of a result, without expectation of a consequence or a reward or a recognition or a pat on the back, when we start doing that work, that is the highest work. That is actually called work of dharma, righteousness, even though it may be the smallest of the thing that you're doing, even folding your clothes. or washing, even if you do that, that can become a act of devotion or an act of perfection from which joy can come in. And this is what Bhagavad Gita, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Karmanya vadika raste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalhe turhu ma te sargastva karmane. That please, O man, O Arjuna, you have, it is your dharma, you are duty bound to perform action, but perform that action not for a result or a consequence. The right to give a reward for that is only in my hand. But because you are doing work without having a result in mind or without looking for its reward or gain, that does not mean you become inactive and you sit idly and say, I don't want to do it. This is what is actually, many people say, is the essence of what Bhagavad Gita is trying to say about, because this whole of a journey of life is Kurukshetra. Gita starts with this, that our life is a battleground. It is the battleground of Kurukshetra, and every time the situation that we face in life is like a war. We'll be tested, we'll be challenged, we'll be checked, we'll be probed, we will be pinched, we will be at all points of time facing situations which are not in our control. What do we do with that? How do we deal? How do we perform? How do we react? How do we interact? Is actually what this manual of life is all about. But if we were to just surround ourselves what we like to do and surround ourselves with perfect conditions, then of course we will just be stuck. We will be stuck in our own matrix. We'll be stuck in our own make-believe illusory world, the mithya, the jagat that we talk about, and we remain cocooned in our world, and therefore we will live that kind of a life. So to face the world and to face the challenges that are coming to us with that joy in the heart, and yet creating perfection out of it, yet expanding our awareness and be able to throw the light of complete awareness into every small little action of ours becomes an attitude, and it requires training, it requires practice, and it starts with the present moment and the present job at hand. Even it might be listening right now to what I am saying, because also there is an awareness that is required. However sharp your awareness is, if you are just listening out of your awareness, then everything, including the energy, is interacting with you. If you are receiving it with your filters and your judgments and your experiences and your opinions and your beliefs, then of course it is going in, but in a way in which we are receiving it. So it's a very individual perception, and all that we are doing all the time is to improve our awareness and improve our perception. And with that, we move into the next topic, which is exactly in line with this. It is called the cup of happiness. So in 2019, I was inspired to do the cup of happiness. There is a video available of the cup of happiness. In our book, there is also there is a kind of a poster of the cup of happiness, and it gives you step by step how to make a perfect cup of happiness for ourselves, and you can make it as many times a day as you like it. And so we actually created a cup of tea as a metaphor to experience happiness in our lives. Now, we all are fond of tea, or at least most of us are fond of tea other than the coffee drinkers. And we know that, to make a cup of coffee, you need a cup, you need some tea bags, you need some water, and you need some sweetener, and you need a stirrer. Now, how do we relate this cup of life or this cup of tea to happiness. Now, if this teacup is the Brahman, okay, and the liquid in it, the water in it, the boiling water in it is life or the Atman, right? Because it requires a container, because Brahman is the all-pervasive consciousness and it's the space. And in that, in the container, there is a jiva, there's an individual soul, okay? Now, how does this become always aligned to our state of being, which is happiness? So what we say is that let's look at a tea bag. When we have to perform any action in life, we use the tea bag of action. Okay? So if you know a tea bag has three parts to it. One is the part which is called a flag, from which we hold the tea bag. Then there is a thread attached to it. And at the end of the thread, there is a bag. So when we want to make a cup of tea, what do? We put the bag in the water. The thread makes the flag hang out of the cup. So what is this tea bag of action? The bag part which remains in the Atman, which remains in our life, which is interacting with us, is called what we spoke about just now. That is called the perfection in our action, or honest effort, or our best effort. So at all points of time, no matter what is being given to us to do, to perform an action, we bring our honest, dedicated, and best effort. That is what is the bag part that is gone inside the cup of life. And when we do that, the flag that remains out of the cup is our expectation of any result, or our attachment to any particular result or a reward or a consequence. When we start performing actions in our life without having any regard to these consequences, and we just do good action, perfect action for the sake of doing it, because we are not satisfied with imperfection, then what comes in our life, or what results in our life, is only the results of perfection in what we do. And we are doing perfection because we cannot seek imperfection, because this is who we are, and therefore what we are reflects in everything that we do. Okay? So the back part is honest effort, best effort, and what we keep out is expectation or attachment to any particular type of result. Okay? That is when we have to perform any action in life, big or small. It may be performing a heart surgery, or it may be actually making a cup of tea. How do we perform it? Right? Then what do we do when we are performing an action and somebody comes in and somebody says something to us? We start reacting. Okay? So the second bag is the bag of reaction. And normally problems in relationships and our happiness goes for a toss when we get into the bag of reaction. And that is when suddenly everything which is going very well suddenly starts to go out of control. Okay? So how do we react? Especially when our ego is involved, and especially when we are not liking something, we must use the tea bag of forgiveness. Without getting into right or wrong, good and bad, if we immediately pause and use the tea bag of forgiveness, then instantly what happens is, what goes out of the cup, that flag, is negativity in our life. Because in a minute we become negative, and in a minute the mind starts to create a whole world of negativity, and unhappiness. And we fall into a trap of this negativity many times in a day. Okay, 1 minute we are happy, 1 minute, we get triggered and we react. And so, therefore, it is really as important as how we do our action. It is far more important is how do we react. Okay, and so if you use the tea bag of forgiveness instantly, not have it after 6 hours of brooding and walking and getting into that, instantly if we can forgive and keep our negativity out, because the minute the negativity comes in, it takes hold of our mind, and then it takes hours and days for us to recover from it. Okay, the third tea bag is the tea bag of interaction. Because if you are in a relationship, when you are living together, when you are working together, when you are in any kind of a relationship, and life is full of relationships. Wherever you are in this world, other than if you are in a forest, even in a forest, there is a relationship between you and the animals and the forest and the elements. We cannot live in isolation, and so therefore there always will be an interaction either with human beings or animals or the vegetation or the five elements: the water, the earth, the fire, the air, and the space, akasha. So we are always interacting. What is the best way of interacting? What is this bag part of our interaction? All our interactions have to be from the space of love. Love does not mean that we are always doing only the things that others like. Love means that you are doing it for the highest good of everybody else. Just like a mother, the mother knows that a particular sweet or a particular thing is not good for the child, and the mother scolds the child. Why does the mother scold the child? Because the mother knows that the child will find harm out of it, and therefore it stops the child. So stopping and pointing out someone, pointing out something is an important part of that duty of love as well, that interaction of love as well. Love does not mean again pleasant things. Love, actually, it is tougher to love when you're trying to take somebody to a higher state of consciousness, because it requires, somebody said yesterday that there is just not love, there is toughness. While there is a perfect love, there is an aspect of Narasimha as well. Both are part of the same consciousness. There are no twos. The yin and the yang have to operate together. This is pure love comes in when the heart flows. When the mind comes in, the Narasimha comes and the Shiva's hammer starts to come out. Because this is who we are in us. At all points of time, we are actually moving ourselves between these two realities. Sometimes we are in that state of love, sometimes we go into the state of the mind, and we keep moving between these two states of consciousness. And therefore, these two states of consciousness require two different ways of handling it. But all techniques of handling it are being driven out of love only. So this understanding must come to us. That toughness of a guru, the toughness of a mother, the toughness of a father is part of the love, is the part of taking us forward on the path that we have signed up for. Right? So this interaction has to be always loving. This bag part of the tea bag of interaction has to be love. What this love does is it keeps the flag out, which is called judgment. Because we often get in, when we are negative, we often get into judging others. And then the trap becomes even more bigger. And many of you who have been with me for a long period of time, we've all come out of this very strong grip of judgment and negativity of how we viewed the world. And our life has changed for good when our attitude has changed, when our way of looking at the world and looking at people has changed. As long as we keep holding people and situations from the lens of judgment and negativity, and we do it for expecting some recognition or reward, we will constantly be trapped and we will never experience that happiness which is our birthright, which is what we always want in our lives. And in this cup, so use any of the three tea bags as is relevant: the tea bag of action, the tea bag of reaction, or the tea bag of interaction as the situation requires, and top it up with the sweetener which is called awareness. No, the sweetener is called unconditional acceptance. Acceptance of people for who they are, because when acceptance is complete, then the release happens, then forgiveness comes, then judgment goes away. But if acceptance doesn't come, then neither love can come in, neither can forgiveness happen, and nor can we be peaceful ever. We're always in a state of agitation. And stir this concoction of life, which has the tea bag brewing in it, which has sugar in it, and that stirrer with the spoon with which we stir this cup of life is called awareness. If we are aware of our actions, if we are aware that we are reacting, if we are aware that we are actually acting out of our selfish interests, and if we are aware that we are interacting through judgment and not through the space of love, then I can assure you, we will start to experience joy and happiness. And it is such a powerful tool that if we start to, especially when we are agitated, especially when we are into this mode of reacting, and we start reacting often, we should look at the cup of happiness, and we should try and have this cup of happiness or this cup of tea at least 2 times a day, if required more. But it really helps us, because it just helps us to come back. Whenever we leave our centering, whenever we leave our space of that joy and love, then it is important that something should be able to remind us and bring us back. So that then brings us to the day 32, and that is actually an extension of the cup of happiness, because as we start to use this cup of happiness, we start to see a life which is full of blessing. And we have so much of gratitude to life and to the people around us, and for the roles they have played and they are continuing to play in our life. Because whoever we are today and whatever we have become is because of our circumstances and because of all the people who have shaped our lives and who are currently shaping our lives. And we start to see that everybody is playing the perfect role for our emancipation, for our evolution, for our growth to become the better versions and the higher versions of ourselves. Because as we leave away these limitations of the body, as we leave away the limitations of the mind, actually, the mind is the one which is clinging us on to the body and to these experiences. And as we start leaving this, we start feeling gratitude for everyone. Because if we are today in here in this session, it's because of all the people who are and who have been in our lives, who have helped us to reach this point. And when gratitude comes in our life, when that thankfulness comes to our life, and if we keep saying thank you, thank you, thank you, or shukra, 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 right? Or gratitude, 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 then it starts to attract abundance in our life. Because what we are doing is, to everybody in our life and to every situation in our life, to every circumstance in our life, when we say thank you, because you have come as a teacher to me, and I honor your presence, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I do it completely in thoughts, word, and action, then this gratitude, this thankfulness attracts more and more grace. It starts bringing what we call as abundance in our life. Just try it out, of practicing gratitude first thing in the morning and last thing in the night, and forgive everybody and bless everybody, and be in gratitude that everybody has played a role, beautiful role, in bringing you to where you are. And this gratitude is received by everybody, even though you are expressing this gratitude within your own selves. But since we are all energetic beings, when our energy is full of this gratitude is being received by everybody else. And in every act of ours, in every thought of ours, in every speech of ours, this gratitude will start getting reflected. So, gratitude is an essential element and an essential ornament of life, which makes us very beautiful and which actually makes us very happy. And this gratitude brings all that is needed in our life. Not that what we want in our life, but what we need in our life comes to us when we are in the space of gratitude. And then we reach a point where we reach a state of choiceless awareness, that we are neither looking for any rewards, we are not looking for performing a certain action. We are in complete acceptance of people and situations. When a problem comes in life, rather than fighting why the problem has come, we are in acceptance because we are already looking for a solution. We are not wasting our energy to figure out why did this happen and to start to blame the whole system. I give you a small example of what happened today, this morning. I got an email from the income tax department that my wife, who's died 7 years back, she owes some taxes to the government for 2 assessment years, and these are 10 years old assessment years. So now just imagine, I get an email and I wonder, I'm being asked to pay money on my behalf of my deceased wife. And I just looked at it and I just the first thought was how foolish that can be. But then I realized that if I get into the trap of now trying to vent my angst against the government and trying to say how funny and unfair and how crazy this system is, I called up my accountant and I said, I'm transferring money to you, just pay it. Because if I get into that mode of questioning it and blaming the government for it, I will get into a negative mindset and I will lose my peace of mind. So why should I do it? I just decided, remember, the problem came without my asking for it. In that instant, I realized I had 2 choices now, either to become unhappy or to remain in my happiness. I chose to be happy, and I called him up, and he said, sir, this is happening to everybody, not just you. They are just taking out old demands. And if you do not pay also, nothing will happen because the assessee is dead. So there is no person over there, right? So if you don't do anything, it's okay. I said, no, I don't want this on my head. Tomorrow it may create something, let me just pay it. So what I'm just giving you is a small example. Something out of the blue is happening. But what is it that you are choosing to do with it will decide whether you are going to get upset or unhappy, or whether you are going to just be in your state of awareness and you are present to that moment and you are able to hold your center and you are in that state of being. Because this entire path of ascension of human consciousness from human to divine goes in through 4 stages of evolution, right? The first stage is when the master comes in our life, or is a stage of belief that there is a master and that there is something, which can help us. And when the master starts to interact with us, gives us those teachings, gives us the guidance, tells us that that gives us proof and evidence that this master can help us to reach the goal of our life or the goal of Atma Chalisa Parayanam, then with our experiences we start having faith. So the second stage is the stage of faith. Faith comes in when we have direct experiences. Belief is when we have heard about it, but we do not have any direct experience. So the starting point of this journey is a belief. Belief that this is the goal of life. Belief is that there is someone who can help me, but I don't know who it is, and I have no clue whether it works or not. Second stage of our evolution is faith. There is someone who says he can help, and our experiences say that yes, we can have faith that this will work out because we've had some direct experience. And that faith then leads us to start practicing more and more what the master is saying. If we keep doubting the master, and if we keep questioning and challenging and contesting and reacting all the time, then there is zero learning that will happen in our life. Okay? But when we start to have faith and when we start surrendering every action to the master because we have surrendered there, then what starts happening is an innate source of knowledge starts to prompt us. And we start to know things and we say, I got this thought, I was thinking about it, I should have done that. But there is something that starts to prompt us from within. And the more you listen to these promptings, the more it comes to you. And there comes a time, it is no longer about the faith, what the master is saying, because we have started to put into practice all that the master has told us, and we start to experience what we call as knowingness. Now we know for ourselves that this is how it works. What started off as a theory when the belief was there at the belief stage, now we know from within that it always happens like this, and we are always guided from within, and we somehow know the right answer. We somehow have these promptings. Initially, they are intuitions because we don't understand this. That's why we call it intuition. Intuition as a word doesn't exist, but we call it only because we do not understand what to say, that there is something that we know, but we don't know where it comes from. But actually, it is coming from inside of you. Your higher self, your higher consciousness, your inner Guru Deva is actually guiding you. And the more you start acting on it, the more you start to know things. And you get into that stage of knowingness. It is no longer about the Guru, it's no longer about the teachings. You just know this is how it is. Because of the inner experiences, hundreds and thousands of experiences start happening, and we just start to bloom. It's like Alice is in Wonderland and suddenly things start happening for us. And then in our consciousness, we move to the 4th stage when we have to leave even this knowingness stage. Because knowingness is also, coming from somewhere. It requires a bit of effort. You're searching for it and the knowingness is coming. But there is an effortless stage, there is a spontaneous stage, there is a natural stage that comes, which is called beingness, where you, as you are, in the state where you are, it just comes to you. It's like a quiver full of arrows of Rama when he was fighting a war with Ravana. He would get all the arrows that were required for him, right? Life is like a quiver full of arrows, which is unending. It's like an Akshaya Patra, where the food just doesn't end. This wisdom has no ending in it. If you reach that stage where it is always available, there is no need to hoard, there is no need to store, there is no need to keep. You have to, but for that, you have to reach that stage where all of your mind subsides and all reactions cease. Then only that higher consciousness reveals itself to us from a state of beingness. So, this is the state of choiceless awareness. And this choiceless awareness is the state where no matter what is coming to you, you accept it. The minute it comes, you say it is the blessing of the master, whether it's a positive thing or whether it is a negative experience. It's a challenge or it's a source of joy. You offer it and you accept it. You don't fight it or you don't react to it. You just take it and say, okay, thank you, O my Lord, but this is what I have to deal with today. And because there is joy in your heart, because you're so positive about it, you start to look for a solution and you start to put in your best effort in it instead of reacting and spoiling everything. So it becomes a way of life, and you are in choiceless awareness, and you know what the consciousness chooses to give us today is for our higher interest, right? And the consciousness will keep testing you, keep testing you, keep testing you till you overcome it, or you will run away from it. Either which ways, choice is ours. We can choose to run away from difficult situations and difficult people, or we can choose to overcome it. So everywhere there is this choice available till you become choiceless. After choice after choice after choice, you come to a point where you say, hold on, I'm ready for the world. Because remember, we said we say yes to life. What is yes to life? It's choiceless awareness. I am in the state of beingness. I am happy. And no matter what comes, it is not going to take me away. I will accept it and I will deal with it. Because remember, as Maharishi Ramana said, when we spoke about the self, he said, what is ordained to happen shall happen. Try as you may to stop it. And what is not ordained to happen, try to make it happen with all your effort and might. It cannot ever happen. This is the law of consciousness. So what's coming to us is what we are seeking. We attract, we are such strong attractors. We attract what emotions we are holding in, we are just attracting it. We are coloring it, we are judging it, we are putting labels to it. And constantly we create this fictitious world of ours in which we are a beautiful prisoner. So the state of a mukta is choiceless awareness. He is happy with wherever it is, and that choiceless awareness brings a stillness in life. It makes you still. In a minute, something comes into your hand and you're asked to do something, you just start doing it. Because you say, okay, if that is how it is, this is, I am doing action, but I am still. And there is a silence that descends upon us. Because when all reaction cease, there is only silence. And this silence is a void. It's a feeling of blankness. It doesn't have ecstasy. It doesn't have joy in it. It doesn't have, because ecstasy, joy are all attributes. It is attributeless. It just is. The most powerful thing is just silence. Because in that silence, everything comes to us. All grace comes, all blessings come and touch us when we become still. Still has nothing to do with movement. Stillness is an inner state of being where there are no emotions, where there are no fluctuations, where there is only one equal state of void. Shunya. And sometimes we are scared of this because we're always used to some kind of experiences. We always want something to keep happening for us. That's a fairy tale world. That is just to tell you that this happens, but that's not what life is about. Only those who escape life run for that. They go in the forest and in the cave and stay in their state. But that's not the path of realized beings. When they realize, they go and help and serve others. And for that, we have to leave our cocoon of our comforts. So, stillness in action. Performing all actions, but holding the stillness in your heart. Speaking, but being silent inside. Silence means no agitation, no urgings, no promptings, just a spontaneous flow of consciousness. And that then brings us to a state where we are able to let go of all our own preferences and our own wants and our likes. Because we are in choiceless awareness. See, we went choiceless. We said, whatever has to come is coming from the higher consciousness for my growth and evolution. I am ready for it. And this readiness, this preparedness, this acceptance, unconditional acceptance, without asking questions, without finding faults, without blaming others, without judging others, without getting agitated, and you accept, it brings great amount of peace in you. Shanti. Contentment. The two guardians of the gate of liberation or self-realization are Shanti, Santosh. Santosh is satisfaction. I am contented all the time. And that gives us peace, that eternal peace, what we pray for every time. That Shanti is what we are looking for. And this is how it comes. It's all, if you see, whatever we are discussing is so interconnected. And you know exactly where your thread is in your hands. Because when we start to live this, we let go of life, we let go of our individuality. We are already at the mercy and at the joy of the universal consciousness. We are in gratitude actually. Whatever their consciousness is sending us, we are in gratitude. We say thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't believe my luck that I am getting all this. Because, as I said yesterday, the consciousness wants us to be better and better and the best versions of ourselves. That's what it is doing. It's constantly scraping, polishing, shining, because only consciousness knows our worth. We are lazy and we are comfortable in our inactivity, in our lights. But consciousness pushes us out, probes us, teases us, goads us, hammers us, but will make sure either you will run away on this path or you will become the bestest versions of your own self. That not only you, the whole world, will say, this is a manifestation of your consciousness. And if we let go, then we can flow in the Ganges of love. Because then only life becomes a flow. Because life starts to manifest everything. Remember that state of beingness. Beingness means you are in unity with consciousness. You are not resisting. Every time something happens, if you start resisting, then you are like a rock which is standing on the path of the mighty Ganges. What happens to that rock? The mighty Ganges comes with such force and it hits the rock. And over a period of time, the rock starts to move, the rock starts to grow smaller in size, because every time the mighty Ganges comes, it takes a part of you. But because it is rigid, because it is stubborn, it cannot flow with the Ganges. But if you are like a log of wood, a tree falls into the mighty Ganges, what happens to it? It starts to flow with the Ganges. It doesn't resist. No harm comes to it. Safely it is carried by the Ganges to where it needs to go. It finds its shore, and somebody else uses this tree, and this tree is put to good use. So we have to choose. Are we like stubborn like a rock, standing in the force of the consciousness, or we are flowing like a log and becoming one with it? And that can happen only when we let go and we become one with it. And this is the state that we are looking for. This is the state we want to experience. Those who are able to let go of this, those who are able to flow in this river of consciousness, which is all around us. Nothing is happening in our life without the will of this consciousness. Everything which comes instantly, suddenly, or with planning, whatever is coming through the consciousness. And if we are ready to receive it, if we are in this choiceless awareness, and if we know how to deal with every situation, because the tools have all been provided to us, we know how to act, we know how to interact, we know how to react, then we will start to flow. All agitations will cease. And we start experiencing this beautiful flow as if there is no difference between us and the consciousness. As if we are one with the river Ganges. The Ganges of consciousness, this Ganges of love. You resist, there is only disappointments, frustration, anger, unhappiness. But if you become one with it, there is only joy and light and so much of love and abundance we receive in our lives. And this is why it is an experiential ground. That is why this journey is like an experiment. It's a playground. Because the results, when you play a game, the result is there. You get to see what happens. When we do an experiment, the result is there. Life is a running game. Life is a running experiment. The minute we slip out of it, we instantly get to know what happens. The minute our awareness is strong and we are part of the flow, when we are able to let go, we start to experience a beautiful feeling inside of us. So it's there for us to figure out. Because now we can decode what we are experiencing, what it means. We have all the tools, we have all the knowledge. But the only thing that your guru or the consciousness cannot do for you is to do or is to practice this for you. You have to do this yourself. You cannot keep complaining and running away from it. You have to go and say, yes, I'm going to do it. Yes, I am going to overcome this. The answer is not to run away and chicken out. The answer is to say, How can I do it better? Every attempt has to take us to, you cannot climb the Mount Everest in one go. Experienced, climbers, they first start with smaller peaks. They go from every continent to continent and they keep increasing the size of their peaks. And they prepare, they go through, they accomplish one thing and then they go to another. They accomplish one thing, they go to another. A Virat Kohli does not become a Virat Kohli, or a Lionel Messi doesn't become a Lionel Messi without hours and hours of practice every day. But this practice then leads us to that situation where no practice is required, where everything is your way of being. Practice is only, effort is required, but it is only for you to reach that flow. And that's why this understanding is being given, so that you know what you need to do. You know the traps, and then you start to practice it till you experience that oneness. And that is when you become one with this ocean of love, this ocean of joy, this ocean of contentment, this ocean of peace. So with that, I'd like to thank all of you for being present here, for this beautiful journey of experiencing the Atman, or the consciousness within, which is actually infinite. It's the only thing is, it is contained within this body in this name and form, but actually it is infinite because it is present everywhere. If we choose to receive it as a blessing in our life and always be in gratitude, then only abundance and only good things come to us. Only. But if we get out of that zone, which will happen only when the mind comes in and we start reacting, then of course, suddenly it's like a castle of sand which gets washed away when even a small wave hits it. So I would like to thank that beautiful thing, that was shared with Vijay Lakshmi. I think I started my talk today with that and ending it. It's such a beautiful way of actually never getting out of that state. It's an eternal state of gratitude where you are offering all your actions and all your thoughts only to the feet of the Lord, of the feet of the higher consciousness, of the feet of the Guru. And that will never allow your mind to ever go into its own individuality and take hold of you. So all these 35 chapters that we have spoken about are being summed in that 10 seconds of surrendering it to the feet of the higher consciousness. So thank you so much, all of you, for your inspiration, for your presence, and for traveling together for a short period of time on this journey of love and light. Samastu loka sukhino bhavantu. Samastu loka sukhino bhavantu. Samastu loka sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.